Hey, this is Fine and Neutral, and on today's podcast, we're going to talk about riding etiquette. I'm Aaron.
I think I'm Nick.
Probably
last
Travis.
last I checked. I'm Travis.
It's a 50% chance.
50% chance.
Who are you?
I'm Wanda.
Wanda's going to make her own debut here in the podcast.
She can make it up onto one of the chairs.
She's trying hard.
She's gonna eat your face.
So sorry if I end up yelling, because I'm yelling at Wanda here. Come on, stop it, guys. Anyways, riding etiquette, and I think it's a topic of discussion. I don't really see much specific debate about it. Like, people don't sit down and say, you know, this is the way you should ride in certain scenarios.
It's definitely not taught.
It's not really taught, except like as a caveat, as a preface to that, like at racetracks they touch on it.
Yes.
But that's etiquette that's specific to racetracks, and I think that there is definitely etiquette specific to certain situations. So, on this one, that's what we're going to be talking about, is in specific situations. How should you be riding to maximize safety, maximize not only your own safety, but the people you're riding with, their safety, the people around you, all that good stuff. But also how to maximize your fun. So, anyways, the first category here would be riding in traffic. And Nick, what's your experience with riding in traffic? Have you had any close calls before?
To preface that, we are located in the great state of Ohio, so I don't believe our traffic laws allow for splitting or filtering.
Correct.
So I don't partake in those activities. I don't know if either of you do.
I mean, I have split cars before, but it's a rare thing. It's not something I practice common at all. I bet I could count on one hand how many times I've done it in the state of Ohio. Like, and that's being totally transparent about it. Like, I don't think it's a great practice in a area that the car drivers are not ready for it.
No. I would agree.
We have a particular set of very angry drivers during certain times of the day, especially if you're downtown. So they will not take kindly to you maneuvering better than they do.
And not even speaking of just like on the highway, like, some people filter up through the lanes at a stoplight, which I would love. God, that would be the lane filtering that I think would be the most beneficial, is being able to filter up to the front at the stoplight. But if you tried that around here, you'd be liable to get shot.
Absolutely will happen.
So I think that's a good call out that I don't condone lane filtering, lane splitting, any of that kind of action especially in places that's not a widely practiced thing. Like out in California, out in Europe, all those places that's how they ride, and it's the car traffic knows that's how motorcycles get around. So the car traffic is happy to let them by, and it doesn't cause any issues.
Here, people think that you're cheating, you're cutting the line,
Yep.
and they cannot accept that.
Not at all.
Yep.
But to go back to the question, close calls, to be honest with you, I think that's one of the questions that I get most from people that don't ride is, don't you feel unsafe? And my answer is always no. I don't feel unsafe because I feel like when I'm out riding in traffic, I am focusing on all of the traffic and cars around me, what they're doing, and I'm making sure that I'm not putting myself in a situation where, say, I'm like riding in somebody's blind spot.
Yeah, I would say that's an excellent way to approach riding in traffic, is identifying everything that's around you, calling out quote unquote danger zones, and staying out of those danger zones.
I mean, it's just like, it's the same thing that you do, ideally should be doing when you drive a car. Oh, that car up there, they're kind of like all over the place. Yeah, I'm not going to stay close to them.
Yeah, you give them some space. Or,
So,
like you said,
yeah.
you don't ride in their blind spots because they're liable to switch lanes and not be able to see you. They literally call it a blind spot. So they can't see that. And I think if you watch a bunch of crash compilation videos, there's so many people that turn in crash compilation stuff that just want to, they'll ride in blind spots and then they'll get super upset when a car comes over on them. And I'm like, be realistic here. One, like, you've never made a mistake. You're not perfect, it's mistakes happen. And two, you're riding in an area where they can't see you. Like, you have to be mindful of that. Like, you're blaming them for not seeing you when you're in a spot literally called a blind spot. So think about that kind of stuff and get yourself out of the blind spot, whether you got to pass them or drop back. Either way, just get out of the area where danger can happen.
Yeah, and I don't know who on the YouTubes is the one that says the phrase position for safety. So it's pick whatever position you are in the lane to make you most visible to all the traffic around you.
Oh, that's Dan the fireman.
Yeah, like, I'm not gonna, be in the closest area of the lane next to a car that I'm passing. I'm gonna be as far over as possible. It's common sense to me, and it makes a lot of sense.
You would think that it's common sense, but I guess people just a lot of folks out there can't grasp it and end up, they're riding in the danger zone and then something happens. And then that causes them to wreck, or maybe they narrowly avoid it and they just get scared. But instead of correcting their actions, they just, raise their voice and cry out loud about all these people that can't see motorcyclists. And I'm like, yeah, but to be fair, you were kind of hiding. So you can't expect them to see you when you're hiding.
Yeah, I mean, so if I think about, so I've been riding for 2.5 years now, probably done 20,000 miles. Close calls probably only had 2 or 3 and generally involved someone merging into my lane. Probably the worst one was, I think, on I-75, a truck merged into my lane and I had to get on the shoulder because, you can't really stop that fast when the truck just decides they're coming over. But other than that, I find that I don't feel any less safe riding a motorcycle on the street than I do driving a car.
I think as long as you're if you're managing your risk, which is removing yourself from the danger zone, and you're wearing the proper gear, proper helmet, proper riding jacket, gloves, riding boots, that's kind of like my minimal kit. You really, if something were to happen, you're most likely going to be able to avoid it because you're out of the danger zone. So you have plenty of time to react. And if something does go sideways and you do end up on the ground, you're wearing your gear to protect yourself. So you just raise your chances to not only surviving, but walking away. And that's a pretty cool thing. Just by changing your riding habits, you can avoid so much stuff. And I think with traffic specifically, I think everybody should be out practicing your stopping drills. Mm-hmm. I genuinely believe in stopping drills. You don't need to practice anything else. I don't care. If you don't want to go through corners fast, that's fine. You don't want to learn anything else about, any kind of performance riding on motorcycles, that's cool. But go out and practice stopping.
Learn how to stop. That's the most important.
And some people think they know, and it's not even close. Like proper stopping, there's plenty. Did my power just go out?
No, just those two went out.
No.
Continue.
Yeah. Anyways, I thought we were done recording. Yeah. So when you're people who don't practice stopping, and when they do stopping incorrectly, it's sad. One, they'll stomp rear brakes, and they won't use much front because they're afraid
Yeah.
of the front.
Yeah.
And you're losing out on 70% of your braking power. So it's like, what are you doing? And then if you stomp the rear, especially on an older bike that doesn't have ABS,
It's just going to lock up and slide.
it's just going to step out sideways, and you're going to lose even more control. And, there's just all kinds of things that it just doesn't make sense to not practice with your brakes.
So now you have a pretty substantial commute every day.
Oh, yeah.
So walk me through your experiences, especially being on I-75 and also on a 150cc scooter.
Like I've been driving this commute for almost 5 years, and it's a 50-mile one-way commute. Sometimes I do a combined surface street and with a highway. Sometimes I do all highway. It depends on what bike I'm on. Mm-hmm. And there's a specific one area that I have trouble with. I guess it's just because of the density in that little area. It's always when I'm coming through Covington. It is always it's urban. It's dense. It's 4-lane. And
It's always slow there.
and it's always slow. The speed limits are like 25. But man, I was cruising. It's a 4-lane road, 2 lanes going each way, and I'm going southbound. There was a lady who was also going southbound. She was in the right lane. I was in the left lane, and I was going faster than her, but like not, I wasn't going 100 mph and she was going 30. It wasn't like that. It was like she was going 30 and I was going 35. So I was just going to just gently come by her. She's in the right lane, and then she just decides last second she wants to turn left onto this cross street. And she just does. And that was one of the closest calls I've ever had on a motorcycle. That one, she turns left and doesn't stop turning left, and I'm still strafing by her, and I'm forced to turn left also to avoid hitting her, and I got on the gas really hard so I could try to get out of, from my line of hitting her, and then it forced me to go across the front of her car. Like I ended up like basically cutting her off because at this point she's hitting her brakes. And then I ran up. Luckily, the sidewalk had like one of those wheelchair ramps. Ran up the wheelchair ramp and out onto the sidewalk. And then I like looked back at her and I'm like, raised my hands up like, what the heck are you doing? And she just drove away like it was no big deal.
Yep.
That was one of the closest calls I've ever had on a motorcycle. That was completely nothing I did.
No.
There's no way I could have predicted that she would have done that. Like, yeah, I was in her blind spot for a moment as I'm buzzing by. I wasn't riding in her blind spot. I was passing her, but you can't I couldn't realistically expect that she was going to turn left out of the right lane at a moment's notice. And I was like, holy crap. Like I thought that one was pretty rough. So that's one of the closest calls I had on my commute. I did lane split a guy on my commute because he was just being an idiot, and he was like holding me back on purpose. He's one of those guys. I was just cruising along, no big deal. I wasn't doing any bobbing and weaving. I'm just cruising along. This guy gets in front of me, and he does one of those things where like he gets in front of me and he's going slower than I am. So I'm waiting behind him, and then he moves out of the way, and as I get beside him, he speeds up. And I'm like, what are you doing? So
He forgot he was going too slow.
then he ends up going faster than me, gets back over in front of me, and slows back down. And we get around a car or whatever, and then he gets back over, and then he does it again. And this dude just keeps doing it until finally he goes to pass a car in front of me, that he's in front of me, and he's going to pass another car, and he like wouldn't go fast enough to pass that car. So I was like, all right, screw this guy. And I just lane split right through him, and then I just went about my day. So I've had incidents like that happen and everything. But overall, like you, I don't experience that many incidents. Even though I drive a 50-mile each way commute every day for 5 years, I have thousands of miles. And I see like these crash compilation videos where I see like, there's like, I can call him out. His name, I think, is Angel or Not. And he always sends in to Moto Stars. Always. You'll always see Angel or Not videos. And he has all these close calls, like cars coming over on him. And he rides a red CBR through New York City. And
Well,
I'm
there's
like,
your problem.
I'm like,
It's New York, the worst drivers on the planet.
if you don't want people to come over on you, don't ride in their blind spots. Like, it's a pretty simple thing, you know? Like, quit.
Well, if they don't ride like turds, then they won't make good bike talk content.
And that's partially what has me thinking, like, this dude's setting people up
Oh, he's doing it on purpose.
to cut him off so he can, like, make videos. And I'm like, but why?
Nobody, if he wasn't doing it to make videos, he wouldn't be sending them into MotoStars. Like, he's absolutely riding in a fashion to create those situations on purpose, to get the video content, to create the drama.
And see, that's the thing, though. If you can purposefully ride in a way that causes this to happen, then you can also purposely ride in a way that causes it to not happen.
Yeah, but then they wouldn't generate content
And
if
it's
they
like-
didn't drive like that.
And you know, I get those people out there just want attention, they want content or whatever. I mean, hell, we're trying to make
Maybe
content
that's what
here.
we need to do. We need to start
Yeah,
having
maybe
some
we-
close calls.
Maybe we should do some more close calls or something. But you know, but the whole point of this is just, you know, to put information out there that hopefully, you know, if one of our 67 subscribers here.
No, we're up to like 72 now. I
Oh,
think.
holy crap!
We missed
we're in the
69. We
70s
should have
now.
celebrated.
Oh, we should do a 69 celebration video.
Absolutely. 69
Absolutely.
subscribers. Anyway,
I wonder who the 69th was. That's a pretty special person.
it could have been me.
Ooh.
Travis, your commute is relatively urban, right?
I intentionally keep it that way. I don't go on the highway
Yeah.
if I can avoid it, just because it's boring and miserable. And it's 74, so it's like driving
Boring
through
and
the jungle,
miserable, yeah.
'cause it's pothole city.
It is, that's for sure.
It's horrible, and there's like 4 or 5 different sections of construction now. So
Coming home from your house at night with my tinted visor, I'm just like, well, here we go.
it's all the Delhi back roads. It's the only way to get around over there. But I don't go on the highway because people drive terrible on the highway through that section. And you never know what day there's going to be a huge slowdown coming into Cincinnati.
Yeah, because you got a lot of big Ultima energy over there.
Yeah,
That's
it's
all.
the west
That's
side.
all it is.
Yeah.
And you will very easily get somebody run up into your behind on 74 because it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's paying attention. Everybody's sipping their coffee and doing their makeup. And then because people are incapable of being nice to each other and zipper merging onto a highway, it always gets slammed right on the entrance to 75, right on the ramp. And so it backs up all of 74 all the way out. And it's a bad position to be in. I've seen quite a few people nearly run into the back of somebody quite a few times coming into work. So I avoid that if I can. There's a back route that has a couple of not terrible turns and twisties, so I try to take that as some semblance of joy on my way to work and the way back. But I had I guess you would classify as a close call a couple years back. I was riding the Tiger. I was pulling out of a park over on the west side. I think it was Veterans Park, which was like right next to the police station. Which is ironic because I was literally pulling out of the intersection that was the police station's intersection. And it's a 4-way light. The light turns green for me to go, and I start to pull out to turn left. And some POS decides that he's going to just drive his Altima straight through the intersection. Just keep going.
Was it an Ultima?
Pretty sure. Some Nissan of some sort. And he just keeps going. He just blatantly runs the red light. And it wasn't even like it was it was a yellow and then a quick red and he kind of cruised through. Like, no, it was, my light was green for several seconds because I was getting my shit together to take off because it's a hill. And the guy just buzzes right over the front of me. And I don't know how that we did not hit. Like, it must have been inches. The guy was so close to buzzing the front tire off of my bike. And I made a stupid decision to chase after him because I was pissed. And Kinsey was behind me too on her bike. Was the other thing. It was like she was right behind me, you know. I heard her scream in her helmet. It was so loud. It was before we had comms. And I chase after the guy and try to stop next to him and you know, I don't know what I was going to do. Yell at
give him
him,
a talking to or something like.
Bash
And,
off of his mirror.
Yeah, break off his mirror and rage.
But
so
if
I
it
can
was an
get-
Alta, it might not have had one.
Probably. That was probably the problem. But no, he was laughing as he did it, which enraged me even further.
Yeah.
But
that actually brings up a good point. It's not good to engage with these people, and you might, as a motorcyclist, I've had people yell at me. I've had all kinds of people yell at me. The best thing to do is just not engage with them. And I know that sounds like a cop out, like you want to rage and do all that and have some confrontation or something. It's not worth it because
nothing positive will come.
nothing
No.
nothing positive can come from it. Like, okay, you beat him up and then you get the cops involved because there's assault charges and stuff, or he beats you up and then now you're in the hospital over some dumb crap. Because
in this day and age, you're likely to get shot very quickly.
and that too. That's the worst case scenario. Dude pulls a gun out and shoots you. And best case scenario, you go up, hey man, you almost hit me, and then he goes, oh, I'm sorry about that, and then both of you go your own way. That's best case scenario. And what does it solve?
Nothing.
It doesn't change anything. Like everything happened. Yep. He's not going to change the way he's doing his thing. You're not going to change the way you're doing your thing. And that's that. So that's why, like, it's not worth trying to yell at him over some silly stuff. Like, just be thankful that nothing bad happened and go about your life.
Yeah, as long as I don't die, I'm over it pretty quickly.
Yep.
It's just another day.
Yep. There's nothing really you can do about it, and there's no correct recourse other than to just leave, just drive away.
So I say
go the way you were going, or if you have to avoid them because they're road raging, because I've had that happen too.
Oh yeah. I had a guy chase me about 10 miles from Nick's house, and I was on the scoot, so I couldn't go fast enough to just get away from him. I'm stuck at 60 miles an hour at max, and I just keep going because I don't want to confront the guy. I don't know if the guy's.
Well, yeah, if you stop, he's going to get out and do who knows what.
Who knows what? Maybe he's got a gun. Maybe he's, raging drunk or something, and he won't be able to stop in time. And I was actually thinking about that the whole way. Like, I better not brake too hard because this guy could be drunk. And if I brake too hard, he'll run me over. So instead, what I tried to do is I tried to pull him into a corner way too fast. I made him hit a curb.
Well, what if he just wanted to tell you that he really liked your scooter?
That could have been the case, but I could like when I did reach intersections that I had to come to a stop, I made sure to start braking very gently, very early, so he wouldn't ass pack me. And then we'd get to the stoplight, and I would hear him start yelling at me out of his car window, and I'm like, this
not
guy's
nice yelling.
Yeah, not nice yelling. So I'm like, all right. And there were times where I was like, should I just run this light? Like, I was like, screw this guy. And then he chased me all the way to my neighborhood. And then when I turned into the neighborhood, he finally kept going. And he didn't follow me into the neighborhood. I was genuinely thinking he was going to follow me into the neighborhood up to my house.
And
But when
you're
they do
like,
that,
well,
you just keep driving.
just
You
keep going.
definitely don't stop
Yeah.
at your house. Let them know where you live.
That's what I was thinking too. I was like,
Yeah.
man, I pulled into the neighborhood and I was like, half of mine was like, stop in my driveway, let him pull in and be like, what's going on, man? And then the other half of me was like, or I could just keep driving and see where that thing goes,
Drive to a police station. That's the other
That
option.
was my idea. Actually, I was like, I could just drive straight over to the police station.
Yep. They won't stop there. Guarantee it. They'll keep going.
Yeah, like as far as etiquette and traffic, my biggest piece of advice for folks out there is stay out of danger zones. Create a safety bubble and stay out of danger zones. I understand that the law says one thing, and I'm not saying to go out and deliberately break the law, but I think like it's not so black and white as that. And I know, like legally speaking, they're going to try to claim it's black and white like that. But you can ask any police officer out there; they're not going to pull you over for going 5 over. They're just not. It's not worth their time. Like they're going to pull you over for going obviously over, like 12, 15 over. That's when they're going to pull you over. So you got a little leeway there. It's a little more gray area, and I will do things like ride just slightly faster than traffic and stay all the way in the left lane, all the way to the left side of the left lane on the highway. That way I got nothing on my left side, but a wall or but grass and the median and stuff. That's all that's on my left side. So I don't have to defend my left side. All I have to defend is my front, my rear, and my right side. So on my left, I always got, a bubble there. And then I try to create a bubble everywhere else by going slightly faster and making sure that I don't ride next to anybody. And that's like my little way of making it a little safer for me. And I know I'm technically going a little faster, but there's not much difference when you crash from 68 to 65. So a little faster is not that big of a deal.
Well, and you're doing that to remove yourself from situations.
Yep, and it's the lesser of two evils. What's less safe? Well, and, in my mind, riding next to somebody in a car is less safe than going a few mile an hour faster.
Well, on the highway, a faster motorcycle is safer than a slower motorcycle.
Oh, absolutely.
Because a slower motorcycle is going to get hit by somebody, especially if they're not paying attention.
Oh, and realistic expectations. Cars have them too. If you're going slow, like a lot slower than
they're
traffic,
going to want to try to get around you, which creates hugely dangerous situations.
When they see you out in the distance, they're going to assume that when they see you, you are going a certain speed. They're going to assume, hey, we're on the highway. It's a 65 mile an hour road. That car or that bike that I see up the road there, they're going 65 miles an hour. That's their expectation. And if you're going 40 and they're going 80, they're going to catch up to you a lot quicker than they otherwise would. And that's what they don't expect.
Wanda.
No. God. No. So, and then reasonable expectations too, when you're riding down like a surface street and there's that gas station or that driveway that a car could pull out in front of you from, and there's a car waiting to pull out, if that surface street is 35 miles an hour speed limit and that car looks down at you and sees you off in the distance, they're going to assume you're going 35 because that's reasonable expectations of the car. It's unreasonable to think that the car knows you're going 80 when they look and they see you at a certain distance. They're giving themselves enough time to pull out if you were going 35. Yep. It's unreasonable to be like, they saw me and then they still pulled out. It's because, are you speeding? Because they're not calculating for you going excessively over the speed limit.
Well, motorcycles are smaller vehicles, so it's difficult for people that aren't motorcyclists to judge the distance and speed that a bike's going because they're, looking at them head on or looking at them from the back. They're kind of one-dimensional in a way. With a car, you've got two lights. All cars are generally about kind of the same width, so you can judge how far away the car is based on the knowledge of how far away the lights are from each other. If the lights are really, really close together, the car's really far away. Bikes don't really have that. They have one light, one in the front and rear.
Generally speaking, it's just one light.
Usually. And so it's kind of difficult to judge that. So if the bike is going considerably faster than the speed limit, this is especially true on city streets where speeds are supposed to be slower. Yeah, they will. They'll pull out right in front of you, not even realizing how close you are. Because they just don't... they don't see it, and that's especially true at night.
And I see that a lot on the crash compilation videos like Moto Stars and Dirt Bike Lunatic, and
That's
there's a
probably
few
the
others.
primary offense, honestly,
And
is just people pulling out in front of other
pulling out in
motorcyclists.
front, and it's like, and there are situations where that happens straight up. I've had it happen to me. Yes, I'm not sitting here saying that all cars are innocent here. That's not the point of this. The point of this is understanding us as humans and how we behave, and accounting for that and staying vigilant about keeping yourself out of danger. So if you're riding down the road and you see a car that is perpendicular to the direction you're going in, and they're getting ready to cross over your line because they're turning out or pulling her out or whatever, don't expect them to see you, but also just expect them to do the dumbest thing possible.
Yep.
I think that's the best way to put it, is like, just
Well, you prepare yourself for that situation, and
expect the worst thing or the dumbest thing. Like, just expect that from them. And I think any of us can have empathy there, because we're like, oh yeah, they are pretty freaking dumb. Or not
Yeah.
empathy, but common understanding that, yeah, those people are idiots. They would do the dumb thing.
yeah, and riding. This is where the experience of just seat time really helps. Is that you learn the kind of cues while you're riding, that you kind of see those things. You know, when you're coming up to an intersection and the light's green and there's a car that wants to turn right in front of you, you know, to turn in out onto the street, and you're looking at that car and you see the car kind of inching forward a little bit, you see the tires are turned and they're kind of like poised to go, then, you know, you're paying attention, you're looking at the car going, are they going to go? You know, you're expecting it, because you kind of see the context clues of what's happening in the situation.
You start raising up your caution, your awareness, and you start doing things like you go kind of neutral. You're like, I don't know what to do yet. I'm waiting. I don't want to apply the brakes yet. But I'm ready to apply the brakes. I'm also ready to apply the gas.
Yeah, because if you
I'm ready to do an evasive maneuver. Like, I'm just ready.
If you slow down in that situation, the car that you're
Could
trying to do it could
that
read it wrong
as you're
trying to turn, and they might take off, and, you know, you may cause the scenario.
That's why I mean, like, you just, in that situation, just kind of go neutral.
Yep.
And just kind of, hey, I'm ready to kind of do anything at this moment. And just kind of maintain your current speed and pace until you reach safety, and then you can go back to, you know, let your guard down and go back to just cruising at that point.
Yep. Yeah, it's and like you learn how to read people and read cars and kind of what they want to do. If the car is like kind of, if it's a 2-lane road and they're kind of like bobbling over across the line, then you know like, oh well, at the very least, this person either A, wants to get over, or B, is not paying very well attention.
Yeah,
they're
is distracted
in some reason, in some
So
capacity.
we don't linger.
You don't linger, yeah. Usually, I like to take the approach of just speeding past them, because
Correct. I
if
agree.
I stay behind them,
Yeah.
Yeah, then you got to
there's
deal
a chance
with them.
that they could crash me out in some capacity, you know, depending on what they're doing. But if they're far behind my rearview mirror, it can't be a problem, you know.
Yep.
But there's different ways to tackle each situation. You just have to kind of learn what works best for you. Some people are good at being aggressive. Some people are super, super passive when they ride and super careful and cautious. It just depends on what works for you as a rider. And you have to ride within your means and your ability, and then, but developing the skills to read people on the streets is paramount.
Which, if you're a good vehicle driver, you should already be able to do that.
Yeah, and a lot of this stuff isn't motorcycle specific. It applies the same as cars. Like, creating a safety bubble for yourself is good in any vehicle. So that's like kind of what we're saying here is this is accident avoidance. This isn't like motorcycle specific stuff. But the thing about it with motorcycles is it's so paramount to have developed good accident avoidance, because there's a lot more at stake. Like, if you get into an accident on a bike, it's not that unheard of for a motorcycle rider to die from this. And so it's like, if you can avoid that completely,
Yep.
and even if you have a wreck, at least manage your risk to where you're, you're wearing your gear and you're going to protect yourself, then your chance of survival and your chance of walking away just go straight up. You end up way better off. And unlike in a car, where if you aren't so aware of accident avoidance techniques and stuff, and you end up getting into a wreck, you're protected by this, this state of the art design that has all kinds of safety features and
Yep.
things that are engineered very highly to keep you not only alive but keep you completely uninjured. So you'll see people come out of car wrecks that are just horrible car wrecks, and they'll just walk away from it, and they'll be like, and they just go down the street and buy another car, and
Yep.
they're back out on the road.
When the frequency at which it can happen is much higher for motorcyclists too, because motorcycles are smaller, they're harder to see,
And they're harder to operate.
they're
period.
harder to operate. There's a lot going on, and so it tends to happen to motorcyclists more.
So and another point I'd like to touch on, when I see all these crash compilation videos, like I'll be commenting on them and stuff just to my wife or whatever, and I see these things, and I always yell at the TV like, man, that guy shouldn't have been riding in the blind spot. That guy should have, he should have checked up, and when he saw that car pull up perpendicular like that, he should have checked up and been like, okay, I need to be ready for evasive maneuvers or just action in general.
More often than not, poor decisions by the rider,
And even
at the very least, increased the issue if
And-
they didn't cause it.
the thing is like, yeah, legally speaking, it's the car's fault in those situations that we're all describing here. Like, it's like car pulls out in front of you, car's fault. I realize that, but
It's your fault for not reacting appropriately.
the thing is, I don't care if the other guy was at fault. It doesn't matter if you're dead. So like, what's the purpose in being like, I can save my own ego by saying, well, it was their fault that I got in a wreck. Well, that doesn't matter, because you got hurt or you got killed or you got your bike messed up. It's best to avoid all of that. And
Do you want to be right or do you want to be alive?
Exactly. It's like, it's just stupid.
I
to me.
held my lane position.
Like, oh yeah, like
I had the right of way.
I had the right of way. Yeah, well, being right if you're dead doesn't matter. Like,
Yep.
And
I had the right of way, but also I'm missing a leg now.
and the rule of the road is always he with more lug nuts wins. And cars have a lot more lug nuts than bikes.
Yeah,
So
bikes have one. Bikes get one lug nut. Cars have
5, 6,
Five.
8.
Hey, now I saw a scooter that had lug nuts.
So like,
on the chart. The chart of lug nuts, motorcycles are at the bottom. The only thing below us are bicycles.
and pedestrians.
We could do a whole episode about bicycles and my grudge against those.
So
Any final thoughts on road etiquette? Because I have a good idea here.
yeah, what do
I'd
you
like
got?
to talk about parking etiquette.
Yeah. What's parking etiquette?
Parking etiquette. So, well, this is more like a poll. Parking in a parking spot, or parking on a sidewalk, or parking in the little parking island that's painted for no cars to park in.
I think it is freaking dumb if you have a motorcycle and you park on the little parking island with the little lines painted on it that cars aren't supposed to park in it, if someone yells at you for doing that.
I agree.
I'm like, so you want me to take up a car spot?
And see, then I feel like people also complain, oh, that motorcycle took up a whole parking spot.
Yeah, so there's like no winning. And then on the sidewalk, I'm totally cool with it as long as it doesn't impede the flow of pedestrians. If you impede the
Yes.
flow of pedestrians, you're just a dick. But if you can park, like if the sidewalk's wide enough for you to park on, or if it has like a little, you can park like parallel to the curb, then that's fine. Like I think it's cool to do that.
So what are the qualifiers for making that okay? Is it number of wheels?
Yeah, I would definitely say 2 wheels only. It has to be 2 wheels only, because any other vehicle is going to be too wide to be able to park on a sidewalk like that.
What about the island though?
For the island, no. I would say no. I would say that would be motorcycle, two-wheel motorcycle only, because of those parking islands are usually like weird shapes, and they're usually too narrow for cars to park on.
Because you can't just like add on a parking spot there. Usually,
Yeah, usually that's what it is. Is like they've run out of room in the parking lot, and it's just like this little goofy space. But to keep things like square, they make this like little dead space that you're not supposed to park in or whatever. That's perfect for a motorcycle because a motorcycle is a narrow vehicle. I wish they would have intentionally made it motorcycle parking. Like that would have been the smarter choice.
But most places don't think about that when they
Yeah.
make their parking lot lines up.
And I get that. They don't think of motorcycles because motorcycles aren't prevalent. So, okay, that's cool. But like let a motorcycle park there. It's not wasteful at all to do that. Like it's utilizing the space and it's not causing any harm. So what's the problem? I don't understand.
can I park in the bicycle parking? I have always wanted to do that.
The rack. You're
Yeah, I just want to roll my
you're
scooter up
gonna
to the
put
rack.
a bike lock on the rack.
Just hop my front tire into the little holder.
I think that would be awesome.
Center stand and then walk
But
away.
I could also see everybody being really pissed at you. But at the same time, logically speaking, why wouldn't
It's
you
no,
be allowed
well,
to?
it's a little bit wider, but
Yeah, like, have you ever seen a full bicycle rack?
no.
So what's the problem? I would say as long as there's plenty of room, then why not?
I'm gonna have to try this.
So, what do you think about parking in a spot with somebody else that you don't know?
I was gonna bring that one
I've
up.
I've done that at parking meters.
You think that's okay?
I will park between 2 meters.
Does that mean you take the risk of,
Have my bike hit? Yeah.
well, not necessarily of being hit, but of being charged if the meter runs out? Do you put money in the meter?
In the city,
I don't put the money in the meter even in a car. Come on now.
in the city of Cincinnati, it's not illegal.
In the city of Cincinnati, if you go downtown, there's a lot of free two-wheel parking, which I think is great.
Yeah, they have two-wheel parking. Like on Fifth Street, there's two-wheel parking, but you can park between meters on a bike
Really?
as long as there's room.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So, like if a bike is in a spot,
But
on
if
its
you're,
own.
if you're taking the spot though, you should be paying the meter. But if you're parking like
yeah, but
perpendicular
I'm
to
saying
the road
a guy.
We're talking about meterless parking.
No, I'm
No?
talking about metered
Metered
parking.
parking?
I mean, it goes both ways,
okay.
but I think the metered parking is more nuanced. A
I
bike
would
is
agree.
already in the spot; they put money in the meter. Do you think it's okay to pull up and park next to them
yeah,
in their spot
yeah.
that they paid for?
Like so, you're talking about a bike is in the spot?
Yes, the motorcycle is in the spot. There's enough space to park another
Yeah.
motorcycle in the spot.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Would
Now, are
you
we-
would pull in and park next to him?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't
Somebody you
have a problem
didn't
with it at
know?
all. Yeah, I wouldn't
But
have
then
a problem with it at all.
you're also, if there's not a physical meter showing the expiration time, you're also taking the liability of, well, like, when is this guy going to leave?
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying is like, are you going to put money in the meter to make sure that there's enough time to cover you?
I would make sure that if I was parking at an old school meter where you could see the time on it, I would make sure that the meter covered at least what I needed. And if it didn't, I would add money.
Yeah, I would too.
So if it was,
Then I feel like you couldn't be mad.
well, that's what I'm getting at. Like, what do you think about that? So if it was already expired and the guy was parked there, you'd put money in it then, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Or like,
Well, no, I wouldn't out of principle.
if I'm going to use the parking space too, then I would absolutely. If his time had expired, I think of it as like I'm doing a good deed. Like, hey, I'm gonna park next to this guy. His time happened to expire. That's no problem. I was going to use the space anyways, so I'll put some in the meter. So we're all good.
Think about this: if there was enough time on the meter to surpass how long you were going to be parked there, would you feel obligated to pay half of what he paid for the meter? No.
Because he doesn't get that money. The freaking city gets that money.
Yeah, but
I'm
saying, what if you gave him money
Oh, if I gave him money,
because you were parking in half of his space?
not really.
So then you would get a 50% discount on parking, and he gets a 50% discount on
And-
parking.
If somebody was that petty, I would give them 50 cents. But like,
Well, I was going to say, I think we need to dig into this a little bit deeper. Travis, is there some type of like deep-rooted parking spot sharing meter situation
No.
that you want to share with us?
Well, I don't drive motorcycles to places that have to meter.
Oh,
the
I don't
parking.
either. That's the worst.
I just don't go to those places.
Like,
No. Even with cars, I don't want to go downtown.
But, like,
Who
I'm,
wants to go down
I'm liable
there?
to come out with half a motorcycle missing. So no,
If
I'm definitely not going those
if
places.
I was parked at a meter with my bike, and I came out and there was another bike parked next to me at
I'd
the
be like,
meter,
oh, cool.
I'd be like, yeah, that's cool. And in fact, I would even go so far as, I come out and there's another bike parked next to me, and I see that they didn't put money in the meter and the meter's getting ready to run out. I'll throw a quarter in it for them. There you go, dude. Good luck to you. Give them an extra 15 minutes or whatever, because then maybe they'll come back and throw money in the meter, or they'll leave or whatever, and I can keep them getting towed. Because, I don't know, it's cool to see other bikes. And I think other motorcyclists would probably be in a similar vein. Like, if you came out, you may not add money to the meter, but you'd be like, oh, hey, another bike. Awesome. And then you just take off and leave or whatever.
So what about free parking spot, complete stranger, and you can get in there? Would you get in there?
Oh, I've done it. Absolutely.
See, when I go
Would
to the
you park?
Yeah.
in front of a Nissan Altima.
No.
Between 2 meters?
Yes.
Probably.
Living life on the edge.
Depends
What
on
if the bumper was already missing?
Depends on what bike I'm on.
Yeah. So when I go to the gym, usually I'm the only person on the bike. So I just take a parking spot. I've never come out to another bike sharing a parking spot with me. I've never seen anybody sharing a parking spot. But I have contemplated, especially if there was one in a good spot, I think I would share.
Yeah, I think I don't. And it would be very beneficial if you park in a way that doesn't block them or
Most
make
people
moving,
just park right in the middle.
Yeah, or making the bike hard to move.
Yeah.
That's the key thing with that. If you're going to pull in to a parking space and share a spot with another bike that you do not know,
Yeah, don't block them in.
do not block them or impede their because that's the dick move.
Yeah. Park behind.
Park in a way that they can easily pull out. And if I came out and saw somebody sharing my parking space, I would not only not be mad, I would actually be excited. I would be like, oh, cool, another bike. That's awesome. Because, bikes are kind of a rare sight. So I think it would be cool to share a spot with somebody. The only time I would get mad is if they parked in a goofy way that was either really close to my bike, that's not cool, or made it hard for me to get out of the parking spot. Then I'd have half a mind to move their bike. I would. But
So I got another theoretical here. If you're going to a place with a parking lot and the parking lot is full, all in the front or most of the way back, almost all, if not all, the spots are full. In a car, you just have to drive around till you found somewhere to park. Typically, it's going to be really, really far away. On a bike, do you go to the same place you'd go to in a car, or do you pull a slight shifty move and park somewhere that isn't a spot?
Well, if you know somebody else in that parking lot, I just park my bike behind their car.
What if you're going to a restaurant or something, or you're going to Kohl's or Walmart or something?
Sidewalk.
Would you sidewalk it?
Probably.
I
Or
would, I would
like
scope
in
out
the yellow lines.
I would scope out a shifty spot. I would, to see how risky it is. And if it seems like it makes logical sense for me to park there, as far as, I'm not going to take up another car spot. I'm out of the way of anybody, walking paths or anything like that. As long as it makes good logical sense, then I've never had issues with folks yelling at me for it. Cause I've parked in in the crosshatch lines and stuff. I've parked in all that. And as long as you're out of everybody's way, usually everybody's pretty cool with it. It's not a big deal. I think I've had one old lady yell at me you can't park there. And I was just like, screw you.
You can't park there.
And I just walked into the store and got what I needed and came out, And it also depends on how long I'm going to be there and stuff like that. I'm not going to park in a risky spot overnight or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to make that dumb move. I'll move somewhere where you're supposed to be if I'm going to park overnight.
Well, with parking, we're all in the U.S. and motorcycles generally don't disappear.
Yeah.
Whereas in Europe, gone in an instant.
Yeah, you might as well not even buy one.
Yeah, the utopia that is the European Union, they have a problem with mass theft. So that's just the way it is over there.
It's so bad they concrete, like in the sidewalks and stuff. They concrete like
Hooks.
hooks for you to
Chain your bike
lock
up
and
too.
chain your
Yeah.
stuff up.
When I rented a bike over there, the rental company had a RAM mount for me to rent to mount my phone onto, so I could have GPS, which was nice. Then they also offered me like chains and locks and stuff to rent, and I was like, no. One, it's not my bike, so I don't really care. But I mean, it would suck to like be stuck somewhere, but you know, I was just like, nah, I'm good. I don't need all that. But like going around through Paris and stuff, God, it was like everybody had their bikes all like chained and locked up and stuff. And I was like, it's like, man, I understand what they're doing, but I can't believe it's that necessary. That's what's wild to me. So yeah, but here in the United States, we don't really have to think about that. That's not really like a major threat. In certain parts of town, maybe, but
I
overall,
just don't go to those places.
Yeah, and I don't have any business being in those places anyways. So
Yeah.
I stay away from those
But
places.
over in Europe, there's a lot of like when it's the entire city, you know,
Yeah,
you kind of can't avoid it. Like London, you can't even own a motorcycle in London anymore because the insurance companies have stopped insuring people inside of London because the theft is so bad.
Yeah, they just rampant with theft. It's crazy. To shift it, the category again, I want to talk about like group riding, and I want to define group riding a bit. There's two different styles. There's like the sport bike style where we're going to go out and we're going to hit some twisty roads and have some fun, or this. I guess we could even break down
The
sport
street
bike.
takeover
Yeah,
type.
the street takeover type. And I don't want to talk about etiquette in that at all.
Well, there is no etiquette.
I can talk
in
about
that.
all.
That's
I can
part of
talk
the
about all
problem.
the bad etiquette
That's
they
just
have.
mob.
Yeah, that's just a mess.
That's
away.
an itinerary
Avoid.
of what not to do.
And then there's like the cruiser style of group riding, which they have an etiquette.
They have a lot of rules.
Yeah,
and
so
they have
like-
a lot of rules.
Touring versus aggressive sport riding.
And we'll talk about the cruiser style first. We'll just call it the Harley style because it's pretty much what it is. But they do side by side riding. You know, they'll ride in packs and they'll ride side by side rather than riding staggered.
You know, I haven't seen much of that.
You haven't seen much of
I feel like
that?
even with the cruiser guys, for the most part, it seems like it's staggered from what I've seen.
I think if it's anything greater than like parade pace kind of riding, they don't ride next to each other. They stagger.
If they ride staggered, that's better because when you ride side by side,
It's just annoying.
you're not really giving yourself much place to go. You're limiting your escape plan,
Well, to be frank, I don't think they have the skill to ride side by side at high speeds.
and that could be too.
I
but-
think it's a lot of why they don't do it anymore is because I don't think they have the skill to do it.
Well, if you're going fast enough, those bars be shaking.
So
that's a problem.
riding staggered is going to give them best sight line. It's going to give them the best escape routes. It's just a safest way to ride when they're doing that. So hopefully they're riding that way. But then they have all these rules about they got a leader, they got a follower, they got goofy names for them. They got road captain and tail gunner, and then they got they'll have like a guy that his job is to block intersections and stuff, and he has a certain place.
The blocker.
He has to like place himself in the line and stuff. Like there's all these like weird rules that they do, and in their minds it's safe, but there's a lot of incidents that happen.
Isn't there also somebody responsible for like deciding when to stop for gas?
Yeah, and they stop very often.
I don't think any of that they do is safe. Having people block the road and these big things, I've never seen any of that done safely.
Yeah,
The only times I've ever seen any of that be responsible is when there's police managing it.
Police managing it, because if you go up and you block an intersection, if you're not in a police officer or an emergency type person.
You're just
where
going to make people angry.
where you're wearing like proper, vests,
Yeah.
and
Captain
lights,
High-Vis.
you have like lights spinning and stuff. People will disrespect you, like massively disrespect you,
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
a good way to get smoked.
Yep.
So it's like that's not cool. No one will respect that. I've
So
seen
that goes
it
against
done.
the rules of the road too, the laws in place of the road. You can't just block an intersection because you want your party to come through. Like if the light turns red, everybody has to stop, and
This
you have to
isn't
let
a
the other
funeral
traffic
procession,
go.
people.
Yeah.
And-
a funeral procession or a police-led.
And you can ask like we know the guys that run a funeral procession company.
Yeah.
And this is what they do all day, every day. You don't realize how many funerals there are in your city
Yep.
until you start working in that business, and you're like, holy crap! But you've got to remember, people die every day, just like people are being born every day. So
There's a
that's-
100% chance that we're all gonna die.
It's like there's tons of funerals, but
I'm gonna get uploaded into a computer.
yeah, but you'll still need a funeral because your body has to be dealt with. So there's tons of funerals and stuff, and they got to do all these funeral processions, and they're blocking intersections, they're doing crazy things, they're
Yeah.
riding on the wrong side of the road.
Well, they talk all the time. We've talked to them plenty about how dangerous
and
that
they,
is for
they
them
know
to do.
exactly how dangerous it is because they get in close calls constantly, but they're riding in ways that you shouldn't be riding.
Well, and
they're
they-
doing it for a specific reason, though.
They also don't necessarily create some of those close calls. They're not. It's a product of the nature of the business. It's not because
Yeah.
they're being bad riders.
They're
It's
not. No,
because
these guys
that's
are
just what they
excellent
have
riders,
to do.
but they have to put themselves in danger in order to do what they're doing. So they have to. It looks like boneheaded decisions, but it's kind of stuff they have to do.
Yeah.
And they just have to manage and calculate their risk.
So,
But
anything
but
more
like
on cruiser riding?
yeah, with cruiser riding, that I'm not a big believer in their etiquette.
Well, we also don't have any cruisers, so
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the bike or that type of bike or that type of riding just because I don't know, it doesn't excite me. It doesn't drive
just-
my passion.
When we do large group rides, we don't do that. Even if it's like a slow day or a touring kind
Well-
of style day where we've got the adventure bikes out or something, we still don't adopt those policies because
Yeah, and
they're not good.
When we
well,
get
we don't
onto
even talk about it.
when we get onto like a straight road, we stagger, we do that kind of stuff, but then we just kind of we match each other's energy, and most of the time we're kind of cruising along, just commuting down a highway or a straight road, and we're relaxed. We give each other enough space that we're comfortable with, but we all know each other, so we're all pretty comfortable with each other. We can ride pretty close in that case. And I'd say that's a good thing to bring up about etiquette. If you're riding in a group and you don't really know these people, then give them a little extra space, enough space that you're comfortable with it. Don't ride so close to people just because you feel like you want to keep the group tight. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about trying to keep up with these people.
Yep.
Like that's not a big deal. It's way better to drop back and get lost than it is to die trying to keep up. So
Yeah, and you don't know how those people in front of you ride. They might ride a completely different way than you ride. You don't know if they're going to park it in the corner or if they're going to be fast in the corner. You don't know, they might drift off and run all over the lane. And, if you're riding right next to them, like wheel to wheel, and they decide that they want to switch on sides of the road because you're not familiar with how they ride and their cues, that could be risky for you. So you want to give them some extra space until you learn.
yeah, until you start riding with
How
them
they
more
go.
and learn what type of rider they are, how they ride, that kind of stuff, and then you'll start to grow that relationship with them, and then you can start getting a little more comfortable, getting a little closer, and having a little more fun or whatever. But like when we're talking about us group riding together, when we're just cruising around somewhere, and we're all pretty comfortable with each other, so we can all get pretty close or whatever. But the Harley etiquette is what I don't like about it, from a safety perspective, they're not really doing much necessarily wrong except for the blocking, the intersection blocking, that kind of stuff. But I think they know that the blocking can be dangerous. So I think they understand that and they do it anyways. So I can at least respect that they understand it. And then they make that choice anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think about that style of riding or that etiquette that they do as wrong per se.
It just doesn't fit us.
It just doesn't fit us because and they have way too many other rules. Like they have all kinds of weird rules about like where you have to be at your spot in the group.
Oh yeah.
And they have like
that's the
that's
politics.
more like MC stuff.
yeah, no, that's it.
Yeah.
And that's what it like kind of is kind of adopted from is like
Yeah.
MC stuff.
That's the politics
And
of their group.
It's like it's silly. So I don't really care for that. But when we're talking about sport riding and going out and having fun on a sport bike, going
to
through
segue.
some curvy roads and stuff, that's our type of group riding. And I would say my favorite etiquette I ever learned was the Asphalt Junkies etiquette. And it happened to be the first etiquette that I really learned as far as group riding etiquette goes. Well, kind of. I learned some etiquette while dirt riding, but then like riding with buddies, dirt riding and stuff. Learned some etiquette, and that was just like a safety thing, But riding with the Asphalt Junkies, the first time I got to go in their group ride, first time ever. Some guy and I didn't know anyone. Like I was brand new to the group. I just found this forum online and they said that they like to go out to ride twisty roads. So I was like, I'm there. And when I showed up to ride, there was a big group there and they were all wearing race leathers and I wasn't. I was just wearing like a leather jacket, jeans, boots, and helmet and gloves. So I felt like I was outgunned. I was like, man, these guys are serious. And this guy like stands up and they're like, hey, everybody, come on, gather up over this way. Just want to kind of go over a few things. We're going to go down this road, and this road. And of course I didn't have any idea what the heck they were talking about. And they were like, look, we want you to just ride your own ride. We want you to go what pace you are comfortable with. Do not try to keep up with the person in front of you. If you feel like you're struggling to keep up, don't worry about it. Just drop back. You will not get lost. We will wait for you at every stop sign. So you just keep riding until you see us. And don't worry about it. You ain't getting lost. And then they said, what's going to happen is the pack will end up in 3 different groups. A slow group, a medium group, and a fast group. And don't worry, there's no egos here. No one's going to make fun of you for being in the slow group. Not at all. We are absolutely happy that you showed up here. It's awesome to get people out on motorcycles. But they said, get in where you fit in. You'll know. If this is your first time here and you think you can fit in with the fast guys, then come on. But if you end up dropping back, that's fine. Just fall back into the medium group. No big deal. And same thing, if you feel like you're unsure and you just want to go in the slow group to start out, but you feel like, hey, I'm actually faster than the slow group. Well, then you can work your way up towards the medium group. But then they had a pretty simple rule of no passing. They asked everybody, please don't pass unless you're waved. Like if the guy in front of you waves you on, then go ahead and pass. But they said, we just don't want people to like, this is the street. This is not a racetrack. We shouldn't be passing each other. And they said, if you would like to get up in front of people, do it at stop signs. So when we would all come to a stop as a pack, you just kind of, snuck your way up through everybody to get up into a position further along that you wanted to be in.
And I feel like in my experience being Captain Slow, I don't have a problem if someone passes me because generally, as long as you're not doing it in a place where you shouldn't be doing it, which I don't really care.
Yeah.
Like if it's a place where like you would pass a car if they were going slow, go right ahead. Like it doesn't bother me one bit.
And I would say too, part of that mentality that is great. Usually, not and that's checking your ego. If your ego turns on and as a guy's passing you and you decide, okay, well I'm going to drag race this guy. He's not getting around me. It's like, what does that accomplish? Now you're going to be way cooking into a corner that you're not expecting to be. You're going to go in a lot harder. And if he's a faster rider than you, he's going to get around you anyways. So you're not really helping yourself and you're just scaring yourself, or possibly riding so far above your head, you're going to end up crashing, which isn't a good thing. I think it's best in those situations to check your ego, let the faster guy go by, and then see if you can hang with him. Because then that's an opportunity to be like, oh, hey, this guy's a better rider than me. Let's see if I can learn some stuff.
It's a learning experience for sure.
So, I think that's good etiquette to have is to be not afraid to check your ego when you're in a group ride. If someone wants to come around you, or just flat out, if you feel like someone is just, they're back there, they're ass packing you the whole time. They're just, you can tell that they're like right there the whole time. Then what you got to do is don't swerve out of the way, but over a decent amount of distance, slowly start just kind of moving your way towards the right, giving them enough sight line and space. I wouldn't encourage them passing you in the same lane unless it's like a nice straight section or something. But when you get to a good zone where they could have a good passing opportunity, stay to the right and give them a little wave and don't accelerate.
Yeah.
And just let them go by. And then after they go by, boom, they're no longer a fly that's buzzing around your ears. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have that annoyance. And two, if you want to, you can try to chase them. So, it's super fun. Like it's cool when everybody checks their egos and doesn't get too competitive like that.
That makes the whole ride safer that way, because nobody gets upset. Everybody's having a good time. You don't ruin somebody else's ride.
Yeah.
And it makes everything go smoother. Everybody is more relaxed, and so they're focused on the task at hand. They're not focused on, F that guy, blah, blah, blah. He cut me off, and they're sitting there stewing in their helmet as they're riding. That's distracting them from riding good. So it's just way better to everybody not bring the egos to the table when they're riding. And it's a good system.
I don't feel like, if we're riding on twisty roads, I don't feel like I have to be going like light speed to still enjoy myself.
No.
Well, that's part of something to talk about too, is the speed of rides, and we ride at a faster pace than I would say a lot of people ride at. But we don't ride racetrack pace, even though we can ride faster. We don't. And there's a responsible speed at which, depending on your skill level, is, reasonable for the street. And, we talk about, riding at 70%. So you ride at 70% of your capability and you leave 30% in the tank in case you need it to get yourself out of a situation. Something happens, there's debris on the road, there's a car. Where we go riding, there's very frequently tractors and random tow trucks and who knows what in the road that you may have to worry about. So that's part of the etiquette too, is of, riding at a pace that is responsible for you and for the group if you're leading.
Yeah, and I say I would highlight the for you part, because, State Route 22 in Kentucky between Willow and Falmouth is that is just like a textbook good section of road. Very curvy, but flowy, fun. And in the Asphalt Junkie days, it used to be like a yardstick that we used to use to measure folks' skills. And we would say, if you can do 22 at 55 miles an hour, then you're an official medium group rider. And then we would step it up and say, if you want to learn to become faster, you should do 22 at 55 miles an hour without using the brakes. And then we would step it up from there and we would say, okay, if you can do 22 at 70 miles an hour, you're a fast group rider. And there's guys that'll buzz 22, 85 mile an hour. So even though you're in fast group, that doesn't mean that you're instantly the fastest rider there. It just means you're now flowing with the fast group, but there's going to be faster riders in that. And back in the Asphalt Junkie days, we would have slow, medium, and fast group. And then sometimes if the right person showed up, like if I was there and then I saw Phil the Thrill show up, we would ride faster than the whole fast group.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we would just check out and leave everybody. But we were all riding within our skill limits. We would ride at that 70%, and we always preached about that 70% back in Asphalt Junkies days. It was huge, you know, whatever that means, 100% of your skill level. So if your skill level is riding 22 at 40 miles an hour, if that's 100% of what you can do, then you need to back it down to 70%, whatever that maths out to, 36 miles an hour, or whatever the heck it is.
God awfully slow.
If that's your capacity for speed,
Yep.
then that's what you need to be doing. You don't need to be at 100% of your capacity. You need to be at 70% of your capacity, because the patch of gravel happens, because misjudging the corner happens, because clibbins, animals, cars, tractors,
life,
everything,
the world, everything around
everything
you,
can happen.
Anything that's on a street,
and a lot of these corners are blind, so you don't know what's around them.
Yeah, and it's not like you did a sighting lap before you decided to do it.
Exactly.
So.
You're just going in this thing blind and barreling through stuff. And if you're trying to do it at 100%, good luck to you.
Yeah.
One little thing, man.
Yeah,
And that's
not
why
responsible.
I feel like there's no... I could never be fully satisfied doing sporty riding on the street, because there's always that side of me that thinks, well, like, I don't really know what's around the next corner, whereas like on a closed track, car track or whatever, you go around that and you know, okay, like I know where the problems are on the pavement.
Especially
there's no variables.
At a track day, you know, at a racetrack, you're going around the track and there's, you know, Jennings is 14 turns, and you're going to go around those same 14 turns over the weekend, 150 times? And so you see those same 14 turns just over and over and over and over again. You know exactly which direction they're going. You know exactly how hard they are. You know exactly where the imperfections in the road are. Like turn 10 has that little patch over there. You know how I know that? Because I've been around it a million freaking times.
Yep.
And sure, you can get that way with the street.
But on the street, even if you rode 22 a million times, tomorrow it could change, because there's new gravel out. There's a new crack in the road. A car pulls out. Like everything's changing constantly out on the street. So you have to remain vigilant, and you have to reduce your pace and stay at 70% of your capacity to give yourself that cushion. Give yourself that 30% cushion to correct, to change your line, to hit the brakes, to do whatever it takes to avoid crashing. And I think that's a good point about that's performance riding in general, not necessarily group riding. But that sort of etiquette is fantastic and does definitely apply to all riding, not just group riding, is that 70% threshold. Because you can even apply that in commuting style riding. Stay to 70%, leave a little bit on the table in case some goofy car makes a crazy move in the middle of traffic, because it happens.
Well, and when I'm out on my own, and like depending on what I'm doing, like if I'm going out to ride, like I don't usually ride by myself. I usually at least go with somebody else. And if I am by myself, I'm just like buzzing around the house or something. I'm not really like going out to ride in Kentucky. I don't go to Kentucky by myself. Just for the safety aspect, because I don't want something to happen, you know, and you don't know what's around and when the next car is going to come, or who knows what. So when I'm like by myself, like if I'm commuting or if I'm going somewhere, I'm just just riding somewhere, I don't even do 70%.
Yeah, and
I
that's
might
fine
do
too.
like 50%.
Yeah, I'm not even saying you have to do up to 70%.
Yeah.
I'm just saying cap yourself at 70%. If you want to do less, that's awesome, because that leaves even more on the table. To deal with craziness. So, and then the last thing I want to touch on in this group riding, and specifically like sport riding, is when you're going on the ride and you're not in the curvy roads yet, you ride staggered. That way you have the greatest visual lines, and you know it's just safer to be that way.
Well, it usually shrinks the group a bit too, which helps you get through intersections and things like that.
But when when you get into the curvy section, you go into single file, and you line up single file, and you snake through it. Staying staggered can cause basically the person behind can run up on the person in front, and then the person in front might not know that person behind is there, and then the person in front starts driving out wide and pinches that person behind off, and it's not a good thing. So instead, you ride single file, and when you run up, if the person in front of you starts to slow, you're going to need to slow to avoid hitting them. That way you don't get yourself into that situation about crossing each other's lines.
Yep.
So you want to ride with enough room to the person in front of you that you're not going to run into them if they decide to hit the brakes. We always said you're responsible for the person in front of you, which what that means is don't hit the person in front of you.
Yep.
That's what that means. You're not responsible for the person behind you because you can't see them. You don't reasonably have that expectation to be responsible for the person behind you. Instead, they're responsible for you because they can see you.
Yeah, and I'm not really paying attention to the person behind me.
The only thing I do for the person behind me is we would pass back hand signals. And we had normal hand signals for motorcycling, like state hand signals, like the left-hand turn, the right-hand turn, stop, stuff like that. We would use those for whenever we'd come up to an intersection that we were turning at. We would turn on our turn signal plus use our arm signal just to signal to the riders behind you, because maybe they don't have their heads up. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they're not paying enough attention, whatever. And maybe they're coming on hotter than they should be. If you just turn your turn signal on, maybe they don't notice it. But if you also put your hand up, it physically makes you a larger thing. And
it's odd to see a motorcyclist put their hands up in the air.
And it's a moving part of your body, so that draws attention to you.
Yep.
And maybe they'll see that and apply the brakes sooner and, keep from ramming you.
Well, a lot of times, some people don't have turn signals or lights at all, depending on what they're driving or riding. But at the very least, they'll have, like the very reduced size turn signals and things like that you just realistically you can't see. They're just not very visible. And so the hand signals help take up some of that. We would
communicate that way. And this is all like prior to Cardos and all the Bluetooth communication devices and stuff.
Well, we still do that anyways, because when you're riding in a big group, chances are everybody's not linked up.
Yeah, you're not linked up. Like, it's typically like just us that are linked up. And then if we're riding with other people, they're not on our
That would be
chat.
chaos.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to deal with all that chatter. But you communicate through hand signs, and then we had other hand signs for slow down, hand signs for I need to get gas, hand signs for obviously for police officer. A lot of people know that when you tap your helmet for that one. There's other hand signs like I can't see your headlights.
Turn signals on.
Yeah, turn signals on, and then you tap your tail if you want them to follow you. Like, hey. That doesn't just mean like follow the direction I'm going. It means literally get on my line. Follow me through this line.
Yeah.
So you tap your tail for follow me, and so there's a few hand signals, and we would pass things back, and then we would use our feet to point out debris in the road. So if there was like a crack in the road, or whatever, it could be anything.
Gravel or
Fissure.
dirt.
Yeah, it could be a pothole, whatever. There's just something that you don't want to run over, and you point it out with your foot. Like if it's on the right side of your motorcycle, you point with your right foot, so on and so forth. And we always told folks that were riding in our groups, hey, if you see the rider in front of you do a signal, then go ahead and do it yourself. It passes the message back.
Yep.
And I always thought it was cool when I first started riding with these guys, because they were pointing out with their feet, like, hey, there's a crack in the road that you don't want to hit, or hey, there's some gravel through this section. And you didn't, when you were behind, you didn't know what it was, because you weren't up and close enough to see whatever the debris was. But it didn't matter. You knew you didn't want to hit it. So what you would do is you'd set your line up through that area that you wouldn't run over whatever. So it was a great way to communicate and stuff like that. That was the only time I would ever worry about anybody behind me, was just passing the message on. But you don't have to look at them for that. You just literally just do the hand sign or whatever.
Yep.
And we always told folks too, if you can't do the hand sign, like if you're in a corner and you just can't move your hands like that or whatever,
Yeah.
don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Just keep going. But I don't know if you've ever been like kind of hustling with a group of guys that are, you're all kind of hustling along and moving along pretty good pace through some curvy roads and really kind of putting some effort into it and having some fun, and you guys are just cutting up. If you've ever felt like it's hard to keep up and you realize that instead of looking through the corner, you're looking at the rider in front of you. If you do that, like if you lock eyes onto the rider in front of you, you will end up going slower. And it'll feel like you struggle to keep up. You'll just start dropping back. And the reason is because your vision, when you're riding through curvy roads, needs to be locked on where you want to go. And where you want to go is not into that other rider. That's not where you want to go. So quit looking at them. Look through them. It sounds weird, but look through them and almost like they're not there, and keep them in your peripheral.
Well, and the reason you fall back too is because if you're watching the rider in front of you, they're looking ahead at the road and they're in front of you. So they make a decision on what they want to do in the road and then they do it. You see them do it and then you make a decision and do it. So there's a delay, there's a lag.
Yeah, and that's
whereas if you're looking through them,
being
you're making a
reactive
decision
instead of proactive.
Yeah,
sort of
you're
thing.
making the decision before they make it a change, a physical change.
Do it, lady. That was my opportunity.
You were waiting for that.
Do it, lady.
So yeah, like I've always I figured that out, and no one ever told me that actually. Like looking through somebody, I kind of figured it out on my own that I was like my attention was focused on the rider in front of me. I started realizing I was doing that, and it was like, well, wait a minute. When I don't have a rider in front of me, I'm looking through the corner. I'm looking where I want to go, and it's easier for me to make it happen. But when I'm riding in a group and I've got a rider in front of me, and I start focusing on the rider, I noticed I started dropping back, and then it would be like I'd have to like shake my vision. And then I would catch back up, and then I would end up doing it all over again. And I had to like come to the realization that I need to quit. I can put them in my vision, but I need not focus them. So I need to keep them out of focus, keep them in my periphery, and look through them, next to them, beyond them, and look through the corner at where I want to go. Even if they're in the way of me seeing through the corner, it doesn't matter. I'm looking through them, seeing through the corner.
Yeah, well, and a lot of people get stuck on that, and it's a really hard habit to break because one of the skills you need to learn as a motorcycle rider is reading the road in front of you. And the key to getting fast is to being able to look further and further ahead. And if that means looking farther than the corner literally can be seen, there's part of that, like reading how the road is going to end up based on how it is now, you know.
And that's part of like vanishing point and some other ride techniques.
And so
stuff.
if you're, a lot of people when they're starting out, they can ride faster watching the person in front of them because that's all the farther they can see ahead. And they're unsure of the road conditions, but they know that, oh, like if that person is going
they're
this
thinking,
fast,
if he can do it, I can do it.
I can do it. Exactly.
Which is a dangerous thing.
And that falls apart very quickly when you get to higher speeds.
Yep.
Because you find out that you can't do that.
Yeah, you don't have the skill level to do that.
And
if
that
you
they
try, you're gonna end
also
up
may
bad
ride in a
numbers.
way that you don't ride.
Yep. And their lines could be different. Their technique can be different. Specifically, like our riding buddy Lou. And we always tell everybody, do not follow Lou into a corner.
Yep.
Lou just, he has a goofy line he can make work that I can't make work.
He goes upside down.
And he's freaking lightning fast, and he will drag you so far into a corner you are not ready for it. And it gets pretty hairy pretty quick. So I always tell people, don't follow Lou, man. Like, just don't.
I get a little nervous still to this day when I'm directly behind him and we're riding somewhere like in the mountains or whatever.
Just don't get caught up on
even
his
to
line.
the day.
Use
like,
your line.
I get behind him and I get a little bit nervous until I ride for a little bit and I get, kind of like reacquainted to how he rides, and I realize like, oh, he's not going to drag me into a corner all crazy. Like I'm all right. He's not going to pull me in. It's okay. I can follow him.
You'll do all right when he's on that XR, but when he gets on the Supermoto, just don't.
Well, I'm not fast enough to follow him on that anyways, so.
But when he's on the XR, you're fine. He's riding superbike lines on the XR. That's what you ride. That's what normal superbike lines are like. Pretty normal. When he gets on that Supermoto line, it's like, don't even try. It's the opposite of an Apex. It's just ridiculous.
Yep.
We need to get him on here.
Yeah, I absolutely want to get Lou on. He's asked to come on. He's a good guy.
Make it happen.
So yeah, like, looking through the person in front of you, I think is extremely important in group riding. Don't like we were just talking about, don't rely on the person in front of you as a crutch. Like, oh, I'm only going this fast because there's a person in front of me leading me through.
Yep.
Well, all it's going to take is if they're leading you through at a faster pace than you'd normally ride, then you can pretty well assume that they're a better rider than you. And if something happens, they're at 70%, you're at 100% right there.
Yep.
They're going to be able to manage it because they're only at 70%. They're a faster rider than you are, and they're going to have no problem if gravel comes up. They're just going to ride right through it like it's nothing.
Yep. They won't even see it.
You wouldn't believe how fast you can go through a gravel patch. I know I've done it. I know you've done it. Like, we've all done it. But it depends on your skill level. We were all at 70% when we did it. So it wasn't that big of a deal.
Yep.
Hell, that was at one time on the other side of 539 when it just the other side of 539 where there's no center lane. It's just a lane and a half road. Dude, we were riding up at one time and we were coming through it at like normal pace, 65, 70 mile an hour. Like, I mean, we were having fun. I think you were on your Z900 and I was on my Versys. That's when I had my Versys 650. We're just coming along at a pretty good clip, and the damn road was gone. It was gravel for probably 100 foot, 150 foot of just the whole road, both lanes, just gone. And it was just gravel. And I come through there, and I hit it going whatever we were going, 65 mile an hour. I'm like, holy shit. It scared the hell out of me. And I had no time to warn him because it just like you just came around this corner, and then boom,
It was
gravel.
just gravel right away.
And then there was that other time in the mountains that happened to us.
Yep.
We were like coming along at a pretty good clip on that road, and it was just like gravel.
Yeah, well, that was what was that? 205? No, it's not 2. What is it? It's on the other side of the mountain. I can't think of the road number now.
Yeah, but, I mean, whatever. I can't remember.
Yeah,
what
the
road
whole
it was.
group. It's like the road turned to gravel like
Like,
mid-corner.
it might have been like 281. I think it's like 281. But like, dude, it just the whole switchback corner in the mountains, the whole corner was gravel, and it was just like gravel, no warning, no signs, no nothing, and we were like, oh my god, dude, and it was in mid corner. You were like banked over.
Oh yeah, we were fully cooked, leaned over, ready,
running cheese
running
man
around
pace.
the corner.
So we were like moving along pretty well. But guess what? Not a single one of us crashed because we were all riding at 70%.
Yep.
So we all just recovered. I mean, it still shocked us and put a scare
it was
into
hairy
us.
for sure,
But like
everybody was prepared to handle it.
everybody was good. So we just rode right out of it. And that's part of that whole 70% rule and just maintaining that for street riding. And I think to close it out today, because I literally just did a track day yesterday, we'll touch on track etiquette. I just didn't want to like harp on it too bad because its rules don't really apply to the road. They're track specific stuff.
And they teach a lot of it when you go to a track day.
Exactly. They're gonna tell you what to do as far as riding etiquette goes.
And every track's a little different.
And well, every track's different. Every organization that runs the track day is different. They're going to have different rules for you to do. You just follow their rules because they're the organization running the show, so they're going to have certain things up. Even if you don't necessarily agree with the rule, you still follow it because the expectation is everybody's following it.
Yep.
So
they'll kick you out if they don't like it. So
exactly, they'll ruin your track day by kicking you out. So
and you paid a lot of money to be there. Stuff's expensive.
But like at this track day, for instance, just to give folks out there an idea, for novice group, they didn't allow passing. They didn't allow passing at all. I think the first session, and then the next sessions up until lunch, you were allowed to pass if it was a straightaway, which means they defined that as the bike is perfectly vertical. If the bike is perfectly vertical, you're allowed to pass. They also had some etiquette where you're not allowed to pass coaches if you're in novice, except if you're waved by. You have to be waved by.
Hold on. What group did you ride in there?
I rode an intermediate.
Okay.
Well,
I was
intermediate
gonna
one.
say, if you were trolling in novice all day, I was gonna have a problem with that.
It was my first time riding with this org. I know a lot of people in the org, and they don't even allow you to sign up for a day unless you contact them first through email and give them kind of a riding resume. That way they can properly place you in a group. But since it was my first day, they don't really ever place anybody in any higher groups unless you have a race license. And I don't have a race license currently. So they placed me in intermediate one is what they placed me in. And I'm perfectly happy going in any group. I will happily go in novice. Like, I'll put that out there right now. I'm not against going in novice. What I don't like about going in novice is I don't want to scare anybody. And I'm not trying to say that like I'm some sort of badass, but speed differential is a thing. And if I go into novice and I buzz by somebody, even on the outside of the corner, it's going to give them a good scare. And when I'll even in my mind give them plenty of room. I'll give them 6 feet. In my mind, that's a freaking ballpark. Like, I could fit 2 more bikes in between us. But but for a novice rider who's never been passed before on a racetrack, it's going to scare the crap out of them.
Yep.
And it's not cool to do to novices. I don't like doing that. I'm not like some guy that loves sandbagging in a slower group. It's not it. The reason that I'm cool with like going in a lower group is I'm like, hey, I've never been with this track day organization. They don't know me. They don't know what my skill level's like. And what I do is I go out there, I follow their rules. I go out for the first session. I do the slow session where they just kind of tiptoe around. And then as the sessions progress, I let myself get faster. And then usually through a novice day, at some point, the coaches are going to be like, all right, guys, have at it. Go as fast as you'd like. And then the coaches are going to leapfrog around everybody, and they're going to catch up to you at some point, and they're going to pace you because they're going to judge you to see how you're doing to make sure that you're doing okay at this whole track riding thing. And when that happens, that's usually when I get bumped, because they'll be riding behind me and I don't even know they're back there. So I'm just kind of like just kind of cruising around the track, making sure I'm not like, upsetting anybody and doing that sort of thing. Just trying to be polite and all that, and still have some fun. Like, I still cut up and have fun, and and then I don't know they're behind me, because you're not allowed to look behind you on a racetrack. That's a no on a racetrack. Don't look behind you. Stay looking in front. You're responsible for the people in front of you. That's it. But the coach will come around me, and then the coach will tap his tail and tell me to, hey, follow me. And he's going to show me like the lines around the racetrack. And he's going to go faster and faster and faster to try to measure my skill level and my comfort level. That way he can judge you and see how you're doing, essentially. Yep. And don't worry, he's a coach for a reason. You're not going to be faster than him. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
He has literal thousands of laps on that racetrack. You're just not going to be faster than he is. That is an extremely rare thing for a novice rider to be faster than a coach.
I would argue that's never going to be the case, unless you shouldn't be a novice, unless you're an advanced racer.
But like what I'll do is I'll step up, and then we'll get done with the session, and usually the coach will come find me out in the pits and be like, hey, do you want to bump? Asking me if I want to bump up to the next group. And, you know, I'll look at them and I'll say something like, man, if you think that's what's best for me, then I'm happy to go up to the next group. Because obviously I'm not scared to go up to the next group. Like that's not, some folks are a little intimidated to go up to the next group because they're like worried like, oh man, that's where faster people are. And I don't want to, you know, be out there and be slow.
I can understand that going novice to intermediate, because novice is usually pretty relaxed, and most everybody in novice is pretty new, and they kind of know they're new. So they're not like got big egos. But intermediate class is like the Wild West sometimes.
It's the meat grinder. So it's the one where you have like fresh novices coming up, and then you have guys that are like advanced pace flying through there.
Yeah.
Everything in between. You also have some like freaking knuckleheads that are riding above their head.
Yeah.
That aren't very talented.
Yep.
So intermediate can be, like you said, the Wild West. But I thrive in chaos, so I don't necessarily mind it. Like I don't mind the Wild Westness of it. When I get behind somebody, I can tell. I can tell immediately like what their skill is going to be like and how I should approach my pass. If they're like novice, I can tell that they're pretty novice, even though they're in intermediate. Like maybe they just stepped up to intermediate and they're still trying to get their bearings and stuff. I don't want to scare them. So I will slow down and I will wait through the corner unless it's like a real nice broad sweeping corner. And then I'm real gentle when I go by them. But usually I'll just wait for the exit. And as they're pushing out wide, I set them up with a nice, like I go out way wide, then I cut in underneath them. Yep. And since I've always heard in a lot of track days, you're not allowed to pass on the inside. And that's technically an inside pass. But I love the way Yamaha Champ School put it. They said, if your trajectories are going away from each other, then that's perfect. That is a super safe pass.
Yeah.
But if your trajectories are coming towards each other, you are not allowed to pass.
Yep.
And what that means is basically
it's on corner entry,
on turn entry, you can't pass. But on turn exit, heck yeah, make it happen. But if you're trying to pass if you're passing on the exit and you're trying to go around them on the outside, dangerous. Yep. But if you're passing on the exit and you're trying to go underneath them on the inside, safe.
Yeah, and that makes sense because if you're coming out of a corner, if anything, an inexperienced rider is going to run wide.
Yeah.
So trying to pass them on the outside seems silly. Passing them on the inside is where you'd want to be, because that means that you cut behind them, you cut over to the opposite side of them, and you're going to shoot, ideally, the less efficient line. So if you're willing to take that risk to pass them, that means that you obviously have the skills to pass them.
Yep.
And the speed to pass them and all that. And if anything, they're going to blow wide out coming out of the corner on exit.
Usually that type of pass, it generates so much drive that when you're passing them, not only are you carrying more mile an hour at that moment as you're going by them, you're also have your engine spooled up and you're already creating more acceleration than they're able to create as they're just getting onto the gas. They have to let their engine spool up before they can start really laying down the acceleration. So it's going to seem like when you pass them, in their mind, the way they're going to think is they're going to think like, good God, that guy's bike is so fast. But using that style of pass, you can pass a 1000 cc with a smaller engine bike. Like I've done it on a Ninja 250. I passed an Aprilia RSV4, that style of passing, and I motored him for a moment until his legs stretched and he come blowing by me. It was a 200 mile an hour straight. And I'm on a Ninja 250 going 98 miles an hour, and he's going to come by me at 150, there's nothing I could do. I just got motored at that point. But on the exit of the last corner, I cut in underneath him and out drove him. So as we're driving off the corner, here's my little goofy Ninja 250 just running away from him, even though he's on a big, bad 200 horsepower bike.
Yep.
And it's just because I used line, I used drive. They refer to that as racecraft. And I used all that and set up my pass to make for a successful, safe, easy pass. But, that's going into like track etiquette, race etiquette, that kind of thing. Again, I didn't want to like dwell on, because that stuff doesn't really transfer over to the street.
Yeah.
There's no continuity between them. that's pure racetrack stuff, and it's not for use on street duty. But I think like if you are ever curious about doing a track day, which we've all done track days, we've experienced it, we know what they're all about. But if you ever want to go and experience a track day, don't. The organization will give you all the etiquette, and it's of reasonable expectation that everybody's going to follow it. And we're all human here. We all make a mistake. Maybe, you know, have a lapse in sanity and you make a goofy decision while you're out on a racetrack. You cut across a race line or something. It happens, but for the most part, everybody's out there following the rules because everybody wants to be safe. Everybody wants to go home without crashing, without getting hurt, you know? So, if you're ever curious about doing a track day and you're just kind of scared of it, I would say to get on the organization's website and poke around their rules, and it might put your mind at ease a bit to just see how serious they take safety. And when you go to the track day, like at this place, this was Fastline track days. They have a riders meeting that's mandatory. This one happened at 7:45 in the morning, which is pretty typical.
Too early.
Oh, it is. And everybody, it's required. It's mandatory. It's part of their insurance. They're required to hold a riders meeting. Everybody walks down in the paddock, goes to a certain spot there where everybody's gathering. You'll see where everybody's gathering.
Yep.
And they have a little riders meeting, and they always talk about, they go over all the rules and stuff, but they say the most important part of showing up to a track day is having fun. And yes, there's rules, but their rules are there to maximize safety so everybody can have fun.
Yep.
And I think the way they do it and everything is, for most track day organizations, is reasonable and respectful, and it just makes sense. So if you're ever interested in doing a track day, but you're a little bit reserved because you're worried about crashing, or you're worried about fitting in or looking slow, or you're worried that you just don't know what to do, then look up track day organizations in your area. You can just Google search track day organization or motorcycle track day, or you go search all that kind of stuff, and it'll pull up some sort of local organization. You can also ask on the Facebook groups, you know, where do I go to a track day at? And in different regions of the country, there's different organizations that do them, and they're all pretty local. So you just have to find one of those. Or you can get on if you find a local racetrack, like if you lived wherever it is in California where you're next to Laguna Seca, then literally go on Laguna Seca's website and look at their schedule for events and see who's renting the racetrack. And you'll see like the names of these organizations that rent the racetrack, and it'll be like whatever. It'll be like N2 track days. And you're like, what the heck is N2 track days? So you Google search N2 track days, and you find out, oh, they do motorcycle track days. Perfect.
Yep.
And then you look at their schedule and you decide, you know, hey, this date lines up with my schedule, so I'll do a track day then. But go on there, and on their website, you can look at all their rules, not only for riding, but for your motorcycle and your equipment, to make sure that all meets qualifications. And then you'll have a leg up on a lot of the other novice, because a lot of them don't do all this research. So they show up and they have no idea about track etiquette. But you already have a leg up. You know about track etiquette. Now you're good, and you will be a much better student to the coaches. So that's kind of riding etiquette in a nutshell, and I hope it helps someone. We'll see.
Thank you to our listener if
Yeah.
you made it.
We ought to give out something for anybody that listens to the end.
Here we go.